Hey, what's up, guys? We're back. Another edition of the 0 Hour, and we are in the afterglow, if you will, of Aries Fight Series Amped. Went down this past Saturday night for the Fairgrounds Arena in Nashville, Tennessee. Card holding steady, Jeff. Man, we didn't really have a lot of changes all the way up to fight time, as one might expect you would. And man, talk about a hell of a weekend. It was, just everything that we hoped it would be. I feel like from the action in the cage to an electric crowd, a great production, a lot of thank yous to go around out there. Thank you to everybody out there that helped make this, the elevated event that we were hoping it would be. From the commentary crew, it was awesome having Cody Saptic in the town, Dustin Ortiz, Alexis Davis. Referee Keith Peterson in the house. So, Jeff, definitely an eventful weekend, one that we are exhausted from heading into Chattanooga, but all the same, it was nice to kind of pull off a show like that and execute it, in my opinion, fairly competently.
Yeah, like I said, it's kind of a rarity to be heading into a fight and not really have to worry about any fights falling out. We always usually have those week of type debacles and fallouts and pullouts and excuses and issues, and we kept waiting for them and they didn't happen. So it's kind of an odd feeling not having to put out a lot of fires or changes. But yeah, man, it was a good time. I love looking at the Facebook posts out there all over the intrawebs of just all the pictures of people with, like you said, referee Keith Peterson, Cody Saptic, Dustin and Alexis. It lets you know that people took a lot from the show outside of the great talent that was on in the cage. It meant the event was exciting for them, and so it makes us feel really good about what we put together. The fact that there was just so many things going on that everybody was excited to document and repost. Of course, the crown jewel of the evening was our main event, and a lot of people happy out there in social media land, posting up their congratulatory post for our winner of Aries Amp's first main event, and that is Mr. Trevor Peak.
Yeah. Talk about putting a stamp on the evening. It was like a build-up, really. Everybody for the anticipation, for the main event, co-main event, was like kind of the cherry on top of just a really badass card from top to bottom. But you could feel the anticipation building up to that main event. It certainly delivered 4 minutes and 44 seconds of wild and wackiness, man. It was a lot of hard, heavy blows landed, 8 by both guys, big slams, good ground transitions, a little bit of wildness in there too, a little posturing, some showboating. It got everybody on their feet the entire time, and it was Trevor Peak that gets the knockout win over Kama Worthy. Just 4 minutes 44 seconds into the first round. Crowd goes nuts, and Trevor Peak walks home with another piece of hardware, a really heavy piece of hardware.
Man,
The
crowd was nuts, man. That has got to be. We've been around some big fights. Trevor's been involved in them, but that has to have been the loudest eruption on like a local regional level that I've ever heard. As far as
I mean, there's
the
a
moment
picture.
they knew, they knew.
There's a picture Alan Poole has posted. You can catch it on his IG, or I'm sure have posted it.
Yeah,
we posted it on
yeah.
Facebook as well. And it kind of like captures the entire moment, because I think he caught it like from the ramp right when the knockout happened. And it was like you could see on so many people's faces just like that moment of like, oh, it is awesome for sure. So congratulations to Trevor Peak, main event winner at 155 pounds. Sends him home happy. Kama Worthy, ever the professional to work with. Doesn't get any more professional. He certainly, made Trevor eat some tough shots himself. Kama landed several good shots that Trevor ate like a champ. But all the same, I think people wanted to see how Trevor held up to some of that fire. And he showed that he does have a chin and he can go to the ground if need be. Had a couple big slams. Showed off, pretty good top control. Same time, Kama, being a BJJ brown belt, was always able to scramble up and out of danger, before Trevor could, not much of Trevor's damage was done on the ground, but he did get it to the ground 3 separate times. Do you think we saw a leveled up Trevor Peak here from the past outings? He mentioned having some COVID issues in the lead up. May have contributed to him beginning to slow down a little bit. I don't want to say slow down much because he knocked him down very late in the round. Still dangerous, but the pace had dropped off just a hair, maybe in the minute leading up to that.
I just think I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say. It's easy to say that it was fatigue from sickness, but it's also easy to just say when you're swinging that hard. I'm not saying wildly like they were, not skilled, but I mean, he was swinging for the fences. That takes a lot out of you, and you're taking them as well. So you're putting every ounce of, what you have in you on those punches, and then having to eat them too.
And both guys working the body a lot.
Yeah, the plum clinch with one hand while you're uppercutting with the. I mean, they were just. I tend to say it was more so a legitimate exhaustion from just laying it all out there on the line and just the give and take.
Yeah. I think that there may be the train of thought that, man, beat this guy, I'm going to just drag him into deeper waters. I'll get him in the second, third rounds. He'll gas. But, it's hard to do that when he doesn't stop coming forward at you,
Yeah.
And so it's easier said than done. As a lot of people are finding. Very excited to see what's in the works for Trevor Peak coming out of this big win. I think he deserves something. There's no doubt that, not only is he putting on a show out there, he's finishing fights, but he's not fighting bums, man. He's 6-0 now with several nice scalps at this point.
It'd be ridiculous to think that, we know that there were people watching and people interested. We heard it. You got text about it. People wanted to know or, let us know what the outcome is. We heard that, from several different, reputable people in the industry. So that there was people watching. I just can't imagine, that there's anything else to do for him at this point after this victory. He's answered all the questions. He may not check all the boxes on paper, but you can't watch this fight and just not know this kid has got the intangibles. Maybe he's not the best at this. Maybe he hasn't experienced this. How would he do against this? I don't know. You could say that all day, but then there's this other box that just goes, fuck, he knows how to win. And that's just the thing. He knows how to win. I just can't imagine that he's going to be sticking around for any more, regional fights at this point. The whole point of doing this card and putting this fight on was for that reason. That's why we did it. That's why we stepped out there. He's fought for us now. Before this, the Warren Smith fight, the David Robbins fight, you've had experience with him in the past, even before that. But this is going to be a feather in our cap. I feel it, that when he does get signed somewhere or whatever the next step is, that we can say that his last 3 pro fights were showcased, on our promotion. And we had just a small bit in his journey. And obviously everything that he does, he's earned, and it's by his doing. But, we created this position for him to get whatever it is that's coming next.
Congratulations to Trevor Peak for sure. Enjoy that win, my man, and whatever comes next, hopefully it's something really nice. Moving on to our co-main event of the evening. Before we get into that, I would tell y'all, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. We got lots of content coming up, of course. We're going to air the prelims from this Aries Ampd here in the coming days, and you'll get notified whenever we put new videos up. The videos from the Ampd show start going up here in 30 days. And you're really going to enjoy them. That, in my opinion, probably the best commentary that we've ever had on a show. Between Dustin Ortiz, a natural out there, he was great. Alexis Davis, a lot of good insight and breakdowns from Cody Sapnick that you're not going to get. You're not going to get it anywhere else, really. I mean, it's your typical. This is better than your typical regional play-by-play. Just a lot of great insight, and I got to say, it just really elevates the viewing of your fight. When you're an amateur and you're getting this kind of dissection, it's fun for sure. Something I wish we could do more often. Moving on to the co-main event, another young man in search of answering a lot of questions in this co-main event. Jeff, a lot of questions coming in on Robbie Ring and Jacob Kilburn. What was Kilburn going to look like? Returning from an injury, the forearm injury, on a slide, but fighting at a much higher level of competition versus Robbie Ring. What was Robbie Ring going to do when he was faced with someone that didn't just fold up in front of him in less than a minute? Well, how is he going to handle Jacob Kilburn's size advantage with this being a 145 fight versus a 135 fight? Can Robbie go to passed around and still be effective? Take us through this one, man. What your take on Robbie Ring and Jacob Kilburn?
Probably a situation where, Robbie Ring actually had more, like you said, unanswered questions than Trevor Peak. We know Trevor's been in tough fights. We know he's had tough opponents. Robbie didn't have that resume. So, the questions were a lot more vast with Robbie. Incredibly, the fight didn't go win or lose. I didn't know, couldn't call it. I would have never really felt comfortable placing a wager if I bet on the fights. Either
too many questions.
Yes, but there was too many questions. But I can say with all honesty, it did not unfold the way that I thought it was going to unfold. Robbie Ring absolutely just bullied the bigger, the heavier, the more experienced, the more salty veteran in Jacob Kilburn. From the get-go, when he first started snagging those kicks, and just, big brothered and pushing him away.
Bulldozer, man.
Yes, it was just like, what the hell are we watching? Like, we haven't seen this type of, it was just an aggression, a level of aggression that we just haven't seen from him before. And I think it was just mixed in with that just kind of just a startledness we had, like, what are we watching? Because this was just not what we expected. We thought Jacob was going to be stronger, heavier, maybe kind of lean on Robbie a little more and make it. I know every time they got into like a clinch area, you were right there next to me and you were just like, look how he just keeps turning into him. It's like Jacob would have the pressure on the cage and you think, okay, he's the heavier guy, he's the stronger, he's the more veteran, he's going to know how to keep him there for a while and wear on him. And Robbie just turn every time, get his underhooks, get his double underhooks, and just bully him back onto the cage. Literally, I think what was the time on the second round?
Looks like we had a finish. It was like 2 minutes. It's 4 minutes and 2 seconds. So we had a little under a minute to go in the second round.
Okay, and I think
Darce choke.
Robbie lost 20 seconds of that fight. Legitimately,
the last 20 seconds of the first round.
Exactly. Got overzealous, made a mistake, got himself into a tough spot. It had to have been music to his ears to hear that clacker go off at 10 seconds. But again, how veteran a move was it for such a young guy to just stay calm, not panic, and realize that he, wasn't in danger and just wait it out. I just don't know. both these fights, co-main and main, both these kids were in the same position, had everything to gain, really nothing to lose. And, I just can't imagine that Robbie's too far from something bigger himself. Robbie's a lot younger than Trevor, though.
22.
Yeah, so I imagine he can be a little more selective and not as rushed to make a move if he doesn't feel like it and if he doesn't want to. I know he made the comment to me afterwards, and I know it may have just been kind of, he's a good kid and he says all the right things, and not because I think it's for show. I think he really truly does believe, um, this mindset. And he said, "I just hope this win doesn't." It doesn't force people to try to push me too fast. He recognized that when he made the comment was, I just hope it doesn't. I hope people just don't take this and try to move me too fast or think that I'm ready for this huge step up or huge step. So very smart kid, very down to earth kid. And I just can't, I'm just curious, man. I can't wait to see what's next.
Yeah, absolutely. And, Jacob Kilburn as well. I'm curious to see how Jacob Kilburn moves forward. You can tell afterward he's very disappointed in his Facebook post and in the aftermath. He kind of admitted to just not getting in to train like he thought he should have for this fight, but admitted to overlooking Robbie and figured that he maybe just didn't have to do all that to get past this 4-0 kid that was untested. And something that Safdie brought up is there's no video on this guy out there. There's you can't find footage of people making him suffer. If that, where's the end? What can I do, to be effective here? That the video is not, there is no footage of that happening. So that's tough to prepare for, right?
Yeah, but what Kilburn has also said, which was very surprising to me, he has been very adamant. Do not forget me, guys. This isn't it. Almost as if, and he has nothing to prove to us. We know Jacob, we know his history and where he comes from and what he's accomplished. He has nothing to prove to us, but I feel like he thinks like, I didn't give Aries Fight Series my best, and don't forget me. I want another shot at doing something with you guys. So that was good to hear. Somebody in his position at that point very easily could just be like, okay, when the young bucks start catching up with you and, clawing at your door, and trying to take what's yours, maybe it's time to slow down a little bit. But it didn't sound like he was. It sounded like he really more so now at this point wants to redeem himself for the performance.
Dial in and put in the work that he knows he has to put in, show what the best side of him,
Yeah, absolutely.
So congratulations to Robbie Ring. He moves to 5-0 now. All finishes still. We go to the second round on this one, but all finishes still for Razor Robbie Ring.
Longest fight of his career.
Longest fight of his career, and he shined like a diamond out there. Greg and Kim Ring, I told them, should be very proud of that young man.
Oh, those are some proud parents for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. Hey, and Whitfield was in the house, man. A lot of cool pictures I'm seeing here.
Yeah,
with fans taking pictures there at our step and repeat. That's always cool to see, and they were vocal, man. You wouldn't, and Gilbert had a good loud crowd too. You couldn't really tell who was the hometown guy there. So, feature bout, definitely there was a hometown guy involved. It was Zach Hicks taking on Charleston Pugh in a featherweight affair. This one, a unanimous decision win for Zach Hicks, 30-27 across the board. All the judges had it for Zach. Early takedowns was the story of this fight. The first 2 rounds, Zach was able to kind of impose his will with the takedowns, keep the top control, and bank the second round's fairly dominantly. Third round, a little bit better, I thought, for Charleston. He did get opened up with a cut, pretty nasty cut in the third round, but it didn't seem like Zach was getting the takedowns quite as easily. And Charleston did have a couple moments where he was competitive in that third round. All the same, at that point, it was a little too late, as they would say, as Zach had already banked those first 2 rounds and answered some questions himself about will he fade in the third round. We were saying, man, the narrative has been out there. We've talked about this now for his last 2 fights. He's listening, like he ain't gonna go out there and gas in the third round.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's in the past it's been a gas. Maybe it is as much as just a mental wall that's happened at some point in the fight. and I think there was these little flashes of moments. I think I remember one in the second round. Can't even really remember what the transition was in the second round, but there was a flash of a moment where maybe he got swept or something, or we traded positions, and I got scared and thought, is this it? Is this the moment? And I think I even said something to you like, right now in the past is when it's gone wrong, because it was a bank dominant first round. Everything's going right in the second round, and it was one little transition that you thought, oh shit, is this about to happen again? But much to his credit, absolutely not. Not this time. Not in my hometown. Not in Nashville, Tennessee, in front of my wife and my kid, and all my family members. It was a completely dominant performance, in my opinion. Even a couple times, maybe Charleston had some success in the third round. It was so short lived. And in my opinion, not really the best game plan from Charleston Pugh or his corner. Um, Zach's game plan was very obvious. What it was going to be, and it was working. Charleston's corner was not a fan of Zach's game plan at all, and considered it a very boring fight, a very boring fighter, a very boring game plan, and didn't like it. But the moment that Charleston had success in maybe turning his position, getting Zach up against the cage, we would immediately think that at that point, now you've got your opportunity. You didn't like this grinding grappling match that's been going on. You've pretty much cursed it the entire fight. You've got position now. What are you supposed to do? Back off and reset. Let's take it back standing. But instead, he would go right back to the same game plan that Zach had been instilling the whole night, and he would go down and try to ankle pick. He would try to double leg, and he would keep himself in the same position in those close quarters that were causing him so much trouble, which then just left him open to Zach turning the tides, grabbing a leg, taking them right back down. So
no, if it's the first round and this hasn't been established yet, that's one thing. But
yeah,
in the third round, when you're down 2-0, what are you going to try to do? Like win one round at the end?
Yeah, grabbing ankles. That's the time. Just like we saw with the Logan Neal fight against Pat Crumpton. Let's go back to that. When Logan got his moments, it was step back and let's swing for the fences, because this is what I've got to do, and that's what I expected from Charleston. But man, it's probably the best all around fight that I've seen from Zach Hicks in all the years that I've watched him perform, and mainly because he's had great performances in the past, but they've been against lesser opponents than Charleston Pugh. Charleston Pugh was a stud, coming into this fight. And so to be able to have your best performance, arguably against one of the best opponents that you've, been in the cage with, a 5-1 record, well-established guy in his area, I think that made the win even that more special. Talked to Zach a little bit last night, kind of post-fight, decompression talk kind of thing. And, and I told him, man, just happy for you. And not just the win, but just happy for you the way later in your years here at, what some would call the end of your career, after such setbacks with just tough losses and tough injuries, that you're making this work, man, and things are really working out for you. And you're able to compete now and rip off some good victories and get yourself back in a hunt. I think Zach's attitude right now, and I don't mean that it's literally going to be a one and done, but I think he's fighting as if, and he's trying to book fights as if this is the type of fight I have to book to get to the next level. But if I can't beat this guy, then why stay in it? And that mindset has kept him, sharp, and it's kept him intense and in the gym 24/7. With the fallout fight against Freeman and back-to-back camps, it would have been so easy. And then after the Delaney fight, just wanting to bounce back 1 month later and do a fight of this caliber, I think it's keeping him sharp right now. And I it's probably happy for every winner that walks away, but there's kind of that sentimental person on every card that you're just really genuinely happy for. And Zach's my guy on this one, that you're just really genuinely happy that things are going right in his life.
Ever the professional, always super easy to work with. Zach Hicks, congratulations. Moves to 7-4 now, if I'm not mistaken. Seven and
Yeah.
four,
Yeah.
with some momentum here, and if I'm not mistaken, made a pitch for a little bit of championship opportunity at that featherweight division. They've yet to crown a professional featherweight champion, so that's certainly something I would
Ah,
consider, and some fun fights out there potentially at featherweight for Zach Hicks, possibly for some Aries gold.
would you possibly have things floating in your head that you would like
Oh,
to share with me?
I don't know. I hate to speak too
Just give me
soon. I do
some
have a few
names.
ideas.
Just give me
There's
possibilities.
several 145s as of late that we've been seeing out there. Obviously, Weston Wilson's a guy that kind of comes to mind. A guy over at Upstate Karate there with Wonder Boy. I got a. I think he's like 12-6 or 7, maybe something like that. He's got a lot of experience, and that's a fight that we kind of actually tossed out there as a potential opponent for Amped, but then Weston had like another booking like in between, and we would have really had to like kind of like waited around a little late in the game to hold out to see what was going to happen with that. So that may be something to consider. But I'm sure there's other options out there as well. But Zach is 2-0 now, and with two very recent good wins under his belt in that division. And you figure some of the other guys in the division are guys that are either managed by his same management company or teammates of him, so he's kind of like got the biggest record experience of the group at this point. So yeah, well, we'll
Yeah.
toss that around, man. That's something that's certainly be in the cards.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't wait to see. Like you said, probably somebody's going to come out of the woodwork too. I mean, Weston's a great possibility and a good guy, good fighter. I have a feeling just somebody's going to come out of the woodworks. Um, man, there's a lot of good possibilities out there though.
Next up, we had a lightweight contest. It was Logan, the real deal Neal, looking to bounce back into the win column against another Nashville MMA product. He was looking to avenge his loss to our current champ, Pat Crumpton. Shout out to Pat. Pat was in the house.
Pat was
Said
in
hey to me
the
at the
house.
show. Yeah, man. The champ Pat Crumpton probably going to be back in action. We're talking about maybe in October. So stay tuned there. It was his teammate, though, in this night, Diedrich Sanders. It gets the win over Logan Neal. Round 1, TKO, about 4 minutes or so in there. I want to say 4:01, but I didn't write down the exact time. But it was just a second or two past 4 minutes in the first round. A bit of a war of attrition early for both these guys, a bit of a grind. Both guys landed some good shots, but there were the knees to the head was what was like the crushing, catalyst, if you will, the big damage, if you will, that was done by Diedrich Sanders. A couple of them landed very, very flush, and then the final one is one of those moments where it's like you kind of saw it developing like right in front of your eyes for like 3 or 4 seconds before he is like Logan's, it has been taken down. He's getting up, and just a bit slow to get up. And it was just like Diedrich was able to just completely measure him for the big knee to the head. As soon as Logan, you could see him coming up off of the 3 points where his hand was about to come up off the ground as he standing up. And, Diedrich didn't blow his wad early on that one. And hit, a lot of people get a little out of control and throw the knee early and hit it an illegal knee at that point, but he waited till just the perfect moment and he delivered a crushing knee, drops Logan again, and just a couple more shots after that as referee called it off. Diedrich Sanders, that's 2 in a row now, moves to 5-3. Logan with an inverse 3-5. Congratulations, good win for Diedrich Sanders. A guy puts away Logan Neal, a guy that's not easy to put away. The talking points going into this was, Diedrich Sanders' teammates kind of got the blueprint to beat Logan, but maybe Diedrich isn't on their level to be able to execute that game plan. When he goes out there and he finishes a guy that neither one of them could finish. So styles make fights, I guess they say, right? Just because the MMA math doesn't always add up,
No,
it rarely does.
no, absolutely. And that was the point I was going to make was, that was the story. And we talked over and over again about how grueling and the decisions in the 5 rounder and the 3 rounds with Charlie and the 5 rounds with pat and how hard Logan is to, and Dedrick comes out and does something neither were able to do. You know, it doesn't mean one, like you said, the MMA math doesn't mean one fighter is a better fighter than the other. It's just the ebbs and flows of the fights and what presents itself as available and capitalizing on it. There's no doubt in my mind that we made the correct pick with performance of the night going to Robbie Ring, because it was a hell of a performance and victory over, you know, Jacob Kilburn, a great opponent.
But this one was started before it happened.
But right? This one was started before it because of that very thing. Because Dedrick was able to go in there and do something that we, you know, just don't see a lot of people do, and that's finish Logan Neal. And just do it quietly too. You know, he's not a real outspoken guy. He's definitely not the loudest person from his gym, but just kind of that silent assassin type mode where he just comes in and fights and tries to do the job, and he got the job done. This is one that I have kind of, you know, circled on my scratch pad here that to watch again. You know, I want to watch that one again and closer than what I was able to, kind of working, you know, obviously at the time and announcing and getting ready for the next, you know, announcement or going back and putting out a fire. I kept turning to watch, but this is one I really want to watch again for a second time. You know, kind of like what you mentioned before with Zach is the unfortunate thing for Dedrick is that a lot of those kind of fights that could be out there for him right now, hell, they're all from his own gym. It's like every 155er, I believe, you know, in the state of Tennessee fights at Nashville MMA at this point. But you know, there could be some interest. He texted me tonight and he just said, "You guys haven't seen anything yet. He's, you know, give me another fight, give me another shot." And so I think there could be some interesting matchups out there for him at this weight. 55 has been really hot for us this year, and I just don't see it slowing down, because no matter who wins, well, you've got two other people that have lost, that those two people are going to make a hell of a matchup with each other and possibly then elevate themselves back up in that win column and back up the ladder. So I'll be really interested to see, you know, what's next for a guy like Dedrick Sanders.
Up next, we've got what ended up being a catchweight bout, actually, at 150 pounds. It was the Kurdish King Avamai taking on Damian Gaskin, and Avamai was able to get the first round TKO here, minute 20 seconds in, over a guy that had never been finished in Damian Gaskin. So that was quite the feat in itself, especially getting it done in the first round. Your take on this one?
Yeah, this was one that, you know, the angle that the fight was actually, you know, the positioning in the cage and where your and I angle was and where we were sitting, where the referee was, everything was that perfect storm of I can't see shit. So I didn't really see kind of what was happening during the closing moments of that fight, the ending of the fight. What it looked like from my angle was that he had an arm trapped, and, you know, Gaskin just was not able to possibly, you know, block the punches too well, and the referee just, I think, felt that there was no better position that Damian was going to be able to get himself in to defend himself, and there was no sense in just continuing to let him take punishment. You know, we had some disagreement, I think, from Damian when the fight was stopped that it may have been too early. You know, who's to say? That's a referee's call, and it's sometimes, you know, when I see a fight that I know was stopped, you know, early, it's because there was, you know, a significant shot, significant damage done, and maybe it was a flash that the referee just reacted. But then again, there's sometimes where the referee can look at a situation and just know you're not going to better your situation, and for me to let this go on, you're just going to take unnecessary, you know, damage. And if that arm was trapped and there was no way that he was going to be able to defend himself, you know, the referee, it seems like to me, just made that call that you're not going to better your position at this point. I'm not just going to let you sit here and, you know, take this damage. It was a good win for, you know, after a debut outing that was just, you know, probably a lot tougher than what he was looking for in his professional debut. Disappointed in his own performance, I think, and not being able to get a finish. So you know that it had to have felt good for Ava to be able to get a finish in his hometown. Um, I kind of, busted out his balls a little bit after the fight because, the beginning stages of matchmaking on this one, he wasn't even sure if he wanted to fight. He was kind of wishy-washy. And so, at that moment, to claim victory in your hometown in front of all your fans, he was thankful that he changed his mind and decided to go ahead and take the fight and be on the card. And, according to him, the plan is still in effect. He said it, after his fight in Knoxville, that he wanted to finish out 2022 3-0. So we still have plenty of time. There's still 4 months left in this year. So it feels like to me that right around that November, December area, we could be seeing the Kurdish King again and see if he can make that dream come true, that fruition, and in 2022 3-0, which would be an advantageous spot for him. His first year as a professional to end at 3-0. We're starting to see guys again, like we just said, a Trevor Peak and a Robbie Ring, 4-0 and 5-0. You start getting to that spot, you can start maybe talking about some things, it seems, nowadays in this sport.
Yeah, and now 2-0 is Ava Mai. You got to figure Contender Series coming back around next spring. If he can be 4-0, 5-0, he's right in the same conversation as we're having about these guys at the top of the card. Damian Gaskin, I'm sure, will be back. He's going to be a guy that's going to be a good test for these pros as they're beginning their career early. And I know that he definitely has a lot more to show than what he was able to show this time out. Leading off the professional card, it was Crazy Kyle Lee taking on Antoine Curtis, 175-pound catchweight affair. Kyle Lee gets the round 2 TKO, 1 minute 23 seconds in. This was more of a kickboxing contest. We talked about it in the lead up. Kyle Lee probably has the grappling advantage here. Will he try to grapple and take advantage of that, or will he strike like he's been apt to do in the fights that we've seen from him as of late? And he opted to strike, and we had pretty close kickboxing bout for the first round. I think it probably edged towards Curtis. It was close to me either way, but I probably edged it towards Curtis. Second round, both guys dropped each other in a manner of like a span of just like 30 seconds, but it was Kyle that was able, when he dropped Antoine, Antoine just, he didn't pop up, and another one or two afterward, then that was it. TKO win for Crazy Khali, evens his record up to 1-1. And Antoine Curtis falls to 0-1. Both these guys, sweethearts to work with, and just very both professionals. At the end of the day, both these guys had to have the neuro and just all the medicals and stuff, and both guys, neither left us in any sort of worry that they weren't going to do the things that they were going to do. Great to work with both guys. Looking forward to working with both in the future.
Yeah, tough to see either guy walk away with an L in this one, just because, like you said, really so hands off with these two guys.
Don't got to worry about it.
Yeah, you just tell them what the date is on the fight, and here's your tickets, and you don't, like I said, very hands-free fighters for a promoter or matchmaker. But like I said, I didn't really go the way that I thought it was going to go. I thought we were going to have just an immediate kind of grappling match. Who's going to get the dominant position on the ground and just kind of impose their will that way. So I was very surprised to see it start out the way it did, and pretty much, like you said, last the whole round the way it did. This was a really evenly matched fight, until it ended. Obviously, and I still think it was a very evenly matched fight.
They had set the odds at pickup.
Yeah. They had set the odds at a pick'em for a reason, and like you said, it was definitely a pick'em in the first round. One guy would knock the other one down, he would recover, then he would knock him down. There we go. So it was very back and forth affair there. So, but Crazy Cow was not to be denied this time. He was denied in his debut, and I think he had a lot to prove to himself, to the people that watched, that still had that vision of that the receiving end of that Bubba Cruz knockout, which was a typical Bubba Cruz knockout.
Bubba Cruz is in the house, by the way.
Was he?
Yeah, he was in that. It's been a while since we've seen Bubba.
Wow.
He's looking
Wow.
big.
So with that being the lasting impression that people had of Kyle Lee that long ago, I think he had something to prove to a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I don't. Every winner was happy, at the end of the night, but I don't know that anywhere as happy as Kyle Lee. Just to be able to get that taste out of his mouth that's been festering in there for a while. He immediately too, when it was time to write checks at the end of the night, he was like, I'm ready to do it again. What do I got to do to get a bigger check? Who do I got to fight to get a bigger check? And what he meant by it was, let me get another challenge.
Yeah.
What kind of opponent, can I face next to kind of step it up a little bit? And that was a catch weight, right?
That was 75. He'll
75.
be 70.
He'll be getting down. I figured that was the case when you said it was a catch weight. It was just the long layoff, needing to kind of some more time to gradually get back down to his weight class. Again, hell, Tim, Aries is almost a year old now. So, we start getting these winners at this point a year later. And again, you can just start thinking about, you can truly say the term, there's a lot of good fights out there we can make for this guy because we've started establishing, a lot of good, contenders in weight classes, champions in weight classes that we can really start kind of putting our heads together and thinking of some really good matchups. And Kyle Lee in the 170 division, when he gets his weight back down, could be one of those guys.
Yeah, I see Kyle being a real solid matchup with several of, our 170 amateur division is pretty solid at this point with a lot of guys that are about to go pro.
Right.
And you think about, these Jacob Adams and Richard Guerreros and guys like that, whenever they go pro, it'd be a nice little, guys that would be nice, be a nice challenge for pro debuts. So, yeah,
you're
stay
right.
tuned, man.
I didn't even think of that angle. I'm thinking pros, but you're absolutely right, man. These guys that are these 170 amateurs that are, doing about all they can do in the amateur ranks that are like close to making that jump at 1-1. He's going to be a good opponent for some of those, make some great matchups. And the good thing is, there's a lot of these fighters that are on this card, again, in the area that we service, in Nashville to Chattanooga and Knoxville. I mean, it's nothing for these Nashville winners to be able to make a short 2-hour trek down to Chattanooga and still be able to bring their fans that way and put on fights in these other guys' hometowns. So our little, really between Nashville, Knoxville, Nashville, Chattanooga, a little 2 to 3 hour vicinity, we can get a lot of really cool matchups going and kind of do some home and aways in a lot of instances. Like with Kyle, hey, you had your home game, now it's time to go do an away game for us.
Yeah, it's like 3 different markets that you're able to kind of grow in their own way, but then you have like contenders coming up in each market, and then when you can have those guys kind of start intersecting and facing off, that's when we get our our quote unquote our marquee bouts, if you will. So
yeah.
Going on to the amateur main event for the, I guess it's officially the title, but we'll call it to a degree also almost like an interim title until Craig French returns from fighting overseas. With 155 lightweight Aries amateur title on the line here, it was Dustin Jamar giving it another go for the belt, taking on Carrington Johnson out of Stryker Fight Center. First round, very, very close, Like, I would have a really hard time calling it. I might edge Jamar's way, but there was nice takedowns from Carrington Johnson. Jamar seemed to land like the heavier damaging like punches, but then the takedowns from Carrington, it was super, super close. But then the second round, it didn't matter because Carrington was able to get the back of Justin Jamar, get rear naked choke, and win the Aries Championship and move on 3-1. Only had 3 fights going into that, but now 3-1 is young Carrington Johnson. Jamar drops to 7-3. One of these fights where there were some big blows landed by Jamar that definitely affected Carrington, but just always kind of looking to put on a show, always kind of looking to have that big highlight reel. But at the same time, when you do those type things, Jamar goes for a big flying knee, misses right as Carrington's coming up, ends up losing the position and lost it for good. That was the beginning of the end, if you will.
Yeah. We knew coming into this there was something about Nashville that Justin Jamar loves. He loves performing. His last time in Nashville, the flying knee worked. And this time it was his downfall. Honestly, we knew that Carrington's path to victory was going to be to get this thing on the ground and turn it into a grueling wrestling match. And Justin just opened up the door for him to do that, taking that chance and that shot of getting airborne in the fight. Definitely didn't see this going down this way. Not saying I saw a winner in my head. Just didn't see the fight unfolding this quickly. I think when we were kind of pacing the fight on paper, trying to see, okay, it's start time. What time can we do this? We had kind of just pigeonholed this one into, excuse me,
4 or 5 rounds.
Yeah, getting 4 or 5 rounds.
Yeah.
So didn't go the way we thought it was going to go as far as the pace of the show. But the thing that's different about this time around is though during Jamar's last losses, you really weren't sure where his head was at after the fight. He has immediately, like it was immediate after the fight, like bullshit. Like when
I dropped the bag.
Yeah,
gotta get back in there. Yeah,
gotta stop selling them bags.
Yeah.
He last time he didn't know when he was going to fight again. This time we couldn't get out of the parking lot with what you got for Chattanooga. What's next in there? When you coming back after this one? How quick can I get in? So it was really good to see that mindset from Justin at this point. The kid's he is talented. He's going to be really good. He's just got to put it all together. I just noticed while we were sitting here, got a little Instagram notification. Carrington Johnson at the gym tonight already, but he's got that belt with him, showing it off. And
hey, he was stoked, man.
Yes.
He was certainly excited, and get a finish over Justin Jamar. That's no small feat. And Carrington Johnson has now showed that he's a threat. He's a triple threat essentially. He fights a smart game plan. His one loss being to Emilio Gonzalez, a guy that he gave. Emilio came out of that fight knowing he was in a fight. He's got a head kick knockout of Marjoe Kirby, which is, that he can do. He can try. He can grapple. He can do a little bit of it all. But then he showed that wrestling here in this contest was at a much higher level than I gave him credit for.
Going back, talking about that Emilio fight, like you're saying, Carrington gave Emilio all he had, and Emilio has continued to look good. That may be like the first amateur rematch that I would think to myself could be interesting because Carrington did look so good against Emilio in the first round. And now with that strap, I could see Emilio. Emilio likes those prizes, likes medals and likes belts. If Carrington, I don't know, maybe we could put something like that together.
Yeah, most definitely. And you also look at George Carpenter. All out of
I forgot about that kid. What the hell is he up to?
Yeah, well, he's waiting for his title fight. Last time you talked to him in the cage, so that's a fight. George Carpenter. If you're going to test your wrestling, then that's a guy that will be a tough test against to test your wrestling. So lots of good opportunities.
G.I. Joe, the All-American kid. Yeah, I forgot about that little baby Ian Stevens.
Yes, and he has looked like $1 million so far. Possibly one of the biggest 155s amateur or just 155's period that you're going to see.
Yeah.
We've got the middleweight title fight up next. It's Josh Booker taking on Aaron Terrell. This one was like a tale of two fights, essentially. Josh Booker gets unanimous decision, 48-47 across the board. That's 3 rounds to 2. I could have seen it 3 rounds to 2 Terrell, but 3 rounds to 2 either way. I'm not going to say anybody got robbed. The third round, I believe, would be the round where if you're going to have some dissension, it would be that. There's no doubt about the first 2 rounds going to Josh Booker. There's no doubt about the last 2 rounds going to Aaron Terrell. Third round, I mean, it's like after watching it back, you could see it going to Booker for sure. Terrell had the better end of like the last 40 seconds was Terrell, and that was kind of what left the lasting impression to me live. But I get, the first couple minutes, well, I'd say the first minute was very close, and then like the halfway minute, from 1 minute to 2 minute mark, Booker had a takedown where he was on top. I thought Terrell kind of landed the better damage at the very end of the round, but if you give credit to Booker for the control for a minute or so in the middle of the round, and I could see it going that way. Either way, both guys were super freaking tired by like the third or fourth round, so they showed a lot of grit and guts to just like get through this fight. They both really wanted it all the way to the end.
Yeah, the third round it challenges you when you're playing judge. If the people in the crowd, I think the boo birds were out for it. It depends on how it's the thing. Does control win the bout, or does damage win the round? And it goes both ways. You're just going to have a judge that sees it one way. You know what? It was unanimous, though. We had 3 that saw it the same way. But I'm not mad at the thought process that the more damage could have won the round as well. If you just, I've taken the judging courses, and that was always damage is king, damage is king, damage is king. They shove it down your throat. Damage is king. But
if you're listening to commentary, it's split too. Cody asked both commentary guys going into it, going into that third round, which way they went, and Alexis Davis gave it to they gave it to Aaron Terrell for that damage at the very end, and then Dustin Ortiz gave it to Josh Booker because of the control throughout the middle part of the round. So,
and if you think about it, it makes sense. Dustin Ortiz is a wrestler at heart through and through, and Alexis Davis has been in some of the most just grueling stand-up wars and damaging type fights. So of course it makes obviously they would both. That's how I would think both of them would. Pick it. But it is what it is. Like I said, and I want to say too, I've talked to Aaron Terrell a couple of times, via text since the fight.
He's ready to go.
And well, what stands out to me though is no matter what I said about the fight, and I broke it down to him the same way you just did, where listen, absolutely zero question you lost the first 2 rounds. Absolutely zero question on anybody in that building's mind. You won the last two rounds. Round 3 was the decider. It was the thing. And no matter how much I wanted to explain it to him, he didn't want to talk about the decision. Like it was a non-factor. No excuses, no regret, no complaints from him. No, I won that fight. I should have won. I got robbed. Nothing.
Class act all the way.
It was nothing about the decision ever out of his mouth. From the time he left the cage to right now, he has never said, I think I won that fight. I think I was robbed, or I think they made a mistake. He may feel it, and he may feel it. He's not said it one time, and that tells me a lot about Aaron Terrell. These guys kind of, there was a little bit of, there was competition before, some jockeying type competition before, not the most harshest trash talk I've ever heard.
No, nice guy trash talk.
Yeah, nice guy trash talk. But, they both just laid it all out there. They were both absolutely exhausted. And, I think where Aaron started slow after such a long layoff, started out slow, but his attrition was able to outlast and kind of weather those first 2 rounds. And then when Booker noticeably started slowing down and tiring, Aaron was able to dig deep and find enough inside of himself to get that thing back even, and stay in there. So credit to Aaron Terrell for being able to withstand and be able to get back in the fight. And also credit to Josh Booker for having such a hot start and then fading
and holding on for dear life.
Being able to not be finished when things were going Aaron's way.
Got in some bad spots too.
Yes, got in some bad, and we're taking some big shots, and was able to withstand that those last 2 rounds, where any lesser a fighter probably would have folded under the sheer exhaustion and then getting, hit on the way Aaron Terrell was, connecting. So no complaints. Would have been proud either way. Any guy walked out of there with our title, and it was Josh Booker. It was his night, and congrats to him. Just like so many other kind of fighters on this card, though, he came into this fight almost knowing if he won who his next opponent was. The way things fell in this division and in this division on this card, that if there was going to be, like you said, it's almost an interim title because it was supposed to be between two completely different people.
Right.
These
guys definitely showed they were worthy.
Yes, interim in the fact that, if you won this title, you were already pigeonholed into your next bout to give someone else a shot at the title that was quote unquote supposed to have a shot at it. So
Jacob Adams, the main question here, October in Knoxville is going down. Jacob Adams and Josh Booker.
It's going to be a wild one. Adams is thick. He's wide. He's in great shape. Booker is tall. He is big. He's, I'm going to be real.
You're going to have to kill him.
Yes. So it is going to be interesting to see how that fight plays out. I felt we knew how this fight was going to play out. We knew it was kind of going to be a grindy type, dirty, slow pace fight. This is going to be interesting to see how a Booker and Adams fight plays out. And there's something about the Joe too. There's just something about the Joe.
It's the same kind of grueling.
It's the same exact cage that we just used at Ampd that we use at the Joe, but for some reason in the Joe, it feels like it's smaller, and it feels like it's in a smaller cage, and you got to fight a lot closer. And the way the crowd is right up on you, and the energy in the Joe, it's going to be an interesting fight for sure. It's going to be an interesting environment, I feel, in that fight. It's kind of got me excited now, Tim, thinking about it.
Booker and Terrell, by the way, also get fight of the night honors.
Terrell, come get your trophy.
Yeah, that's right. We got it for you. Let's see. Up next, it was a catchweight bout, 140-pound Sammy Shires. Shiesty Sammy Shires takes on Jonathan Rivers. Shires moves to 2-0 in this one. Round 1 TKO, 2 minutes, 10 seconds in. Gets the takedown very quickly. Rivers kind of defended himself fairly well for a couple minutes, but eventually succumbs to strikes just over 2 minutes in. And as Cody said on commentary, they call him Shiesty because he just don't give you much. No. He didn't give Rivers much at all.
No, I call him Shiesty because he's the Joe Burrow, the Shiesty Joe of amateur MMA, because he's just got that Joe Burrow kind of attitude to him, man. Just that, the kid's only 18 years old, but I expect him to come out, puffing on a fat cigar, with some rap music coming on, because he's confident, man. He's cocky, he's confident. He's a kid that just knows he's good, and I read a great article on the Main Street Media page up in Clarksville today that has already put out a news page article on his fight from Saturday night. And the kid said it in there, and I believe it. He's like, I almost loves getting hit, like it wakes up. He loves it. It's like, let me know I'm in a fight, hit me so I can, get on your ass even more. Kid's a stud, man. At such a young age to have the upside and the future that he's probably got. I wanted to kind of give him some time after this fight before I reached out, but it makes me just want to say, hey, Sammy, when's the season in? When's the wrestling season in this year? So we can go ahead and plug you in after wrestling season's over. Unfortunately for us, I don't know. It'll be his freshman year in college, but, unfortunately for us, I don't think his season ends when the season ends. I think this kid may have some postseason. The season may be a little extended.
Yeah,
the kid's good, man. Be excited to see what happens. He's right in that same. Don't, God bless anybody watching. Don't kill me for this. But he's in that same kind of Henry Cejudo kind of mold, as in just a short, stocky, strong, with just a great at his level, wrestling pedigree. He could be a problem if he really decides to make this a career and make a run at it. He's got that Dillashaw feel to him, a good-looking young kid with great, foot movement and just impeccable timing on his takedowns and using it just for not a lay and pray type of takedown and grapple, let me shoot the perfect takedown on you and transition over and over and over again to try to, pound you out and get you out of there. So, man, hats off to Sammy Shires and the Sammy Shires fan base. Damn, Rossview High School came out, to support Sammy. So, this kid's got a future, man.
Yeah, definitely going to be a contender in that 135 division, possibly even further. Certainly, blue chip prospect pedigree is still growing as we speak, but a solid one so far. Props to Jonathan Rivers for jumping out there in his debut against a guy that a lot of people probably wouldn't want to jump in there with. And looked to be in good shape, looked to be athletic, and looking to come back and compete with us again. He says so. I'd like to see what Rivers can do next time against a guy that may not be looking to wrestle so quickly, and get a little more of a look at him as well. Let's see. Opening up the MMA action, it was Rashad Lockhart getting his first win ever with a unanimous decision win over Kyle Castelline. It was 30-27 on all those scorecards. So we got all 3 rounds on all 3 cards, and look great, man. He's a hoss, man. He's a big old dude at 170. Certainly a physically imposing fellow. Quite a good amount of size advantage on Castelline. Was able to get the takedowns in every round, dominate position. Dropped him a few times as well. Castelline, a guy we knew was tough, a guy we knew was durable. We'd seen him out there in the past, even though in losses, take damage, dig deep, come back, and still be, competitive late in rounds. But he wasn't able to mount the offense off of his back and stop the takedowns more or less. So good win for Lockhart, gets his first win. He's 1-1 now. 0-1 for Kyle Castelline, but shows a lot of grit, a lot of toughness. Doesn't go away, doesn't quit on himself. Just needs to shore up that grappling. And honestly, Kyle, he typically comes in just a little underweight. I don't know if he's really cutting a lot of weight. If Kyle could get to 55, then I think he would have some nice dimensional advantages if he could get himself to 55. As for Rashad Lockhart, he's excited to see how he does when we step him up a little bit at 170, as we talked about. Pretty nice division in the amateurs here at 170, so there's plenty of good competition for him.
The story for me is Rashad Lockhart is fucking huge.
Massive.
Fucking huge for 170. Holy shit.
Yeah, he looks every bit of a 185 or a small 205.
Yeah, and it was kind of upsetting me to look at the size of difference in there, knowing that everyone in that crowd thought that we pulled something by him, or did something shiesty on.
Rashad made the weight fair and square.
Yes,
and Kyle just doesn't cut a lot of weight, and so he's more of a natural 170.
And just their body types are just completely different. Rashad is a very broad-shouldered, tall guy, but I'm telling anybody that's watching, I was there. In fact, I worked the scale right next to the State Athletic Commission. Even though they weren't pros, they were right there next to me watching all the weights go down. The sumbitch made 170, and he's huge, which means he can be a problem for some people in this weight class. If he can continue to cut to 170, just physically could be an imposing problem for some people. That being said, you look at those 2 different body types and you look at the size advantage, and I don't think it was necessarily an advantage in the fight. Castelline held his own and took this thing all the way to a decision, where a lot of people really, had you been able to bet on an amateur fight, would have, looked at both these guys walking in the cage and just quickly laid down their money on Rashad Lockhart to end this fight. So there's definitely some work that probably still needs to go into, his training and his game plan to elevate, him a little further. But there's some exciting matchups that can be out there at that weight class for him. We know he's in a good camp and training with good guys, and he's only going to get better. again, second verse, same as the first. We're saying it over and over again. Another absolutely pleasant guy to work with on this
Mm.
card. This entire card was littered with some of the most respectful people that I think collectively we've ever had on a single fight card. And
Pros and
Rashad,
amateurs both, yeah.
yes, and Rashad was another one that was an absolute pleasure to work with. So, um, good win. It's always good when you're upside down in your record to be able to get yourself back even. And it seems to always just kind of give a guy that refreshed momentum to hurry back up now and get in there and have his opportunity to get on the other side, the winning side of a record. So I imagine Rashad Lockhart's going to be looking to get in, soon. And hopefully he remembers us, giving him his Aries Ampd fight and wants to, come back and fight for us again.
Well, quick turnaround for us being right back in Nashville just about a month from now, part of that fair show. Several Nashville fighters, coming out of this win didn't take a lot of damage. We'll see if we can get some quick turnarounds. Already heard from Terrell. He's looking to get in on that action in
Wow.
September. So hopefully we are able to see some quick turnarounds from some of these Ampd folks. We're going to move quickly through these prelims here. We appreciate y'all sticking with us here. We've passed the hour mark, so we'll run through these pretty quick. We had a short notice tie fight we added to the prelims the week of the show. So props to both these guys for stepping in there and taking it on short notice. 145 pounds, Nick Durst out of Tama Martial Arts up in Dayton, Ohio. Gets a unanimous decision win over Nashville MMA's Phil Hedgewood, 30-27 across the board. All three judges had it the same way. Watching it live, we were all over the place, and I couldn't tell you who I thought won. I wasn't able to truly give you much of an honest assessment. I knew it looked close out of the corner of my eye. Going back and watching it, I had it 2-1 in favor of Durst, but I'm not upset with it 3-0. I thought that the first round was super close. I kind of edged it to Edgewood. The last 2 rounds, I definitely gave it to Durst. Right guy won regardless. Very technical showing here. I don't think either guy ever really was hurt the entire time. It was just a very technical display of Muay Thai here.
Yeah, I'm like you, and trust me, I'm embarrassed to say it because, damn, it's our promotion, and we should. I haven't been able to watch the replay just because I can't get my damn computer stop buffering. But this was a time in the fight where I was working on other things, and kind of like you, I kept looking back, and every time I would look to try to catch as much of the fight as I could, I felt that it was a really close fight and very evenly. So, sometimes you see those fights where you just don't let the 30-27 unanimous fool you.
Oh, it's super close.
Yeah, it may be evident who won the fight or who won the round, I should say, but that doesn't always mean that it's not a close fight. You can still have a unanimous decision and be a close fight where it's just a matter of maybe an extra 30 seconds of dominance over the other guy, in a round that determined that round. Because every time I looked, it looked like a very close fight. But like you said, both these guys took this on a week's notice. They just wanted to get added to the card, and they came in and added to the card. We know Phil's tough. So any win against Phil Hedgewood in a Muay Thai fight is a quality win. Again, Phil's another one of those guys that, like you said, I'm sure is ready to find a spot on September 17th in Nashville if one opens up.
Yeah, both guys very easy to work with. Durst and his team, first time working with them, but they were great. Very easy to work with. And man, those Ohio guys that come down, they're some technical fighters. All those guys that are coming down from that Ohio region with the Tama martial arts and the Sikan Muay Thai, they bring nothing but very prepared technical fighters.
Yep.
And so that's one thing to keep an eye on when you see one of those guys on the other end of an offer. They're going to be prepared. Yeah. Okay, let's see. Our second preliminary bout, it was Avamai's brother, Amanj Mai, taking on Andrew Havener in a grappling bout at 165 pounds. Avamai finds the win by guillotine 7 minutes in. Take us through this one.
Yeah, impressive win for Amanj Mai because Andrew Havener is no slouch in the grappling. What was the way of finish?
It was a guillotine. It was one of those fights like both guys had their moments, and It was Havener doesn't mind being on his back, and so Amanj rather being a wrestling based grappler, was able to get the takedowns, but then like Havener was like so composed the entire time. He's like, man, it's fine. And he would just be fishing for stuff and eventually, going for the legs and the feet. And that's where he gets tricky. There was a scramble there towards the end where Havener was a little lazy and more or less just got caught in a guillotine in a scramble there and had to tap.
And that's what I didn't catch the finish when it ended. I turned away and didn't see what the finish was by way of. But that's exactly what I took away from it, was where you've got a more laid back approach that Havener has, where he's trying to lure you into some things, like you said, accepts being on his back, almost welcomes it, and tries to get it there because he is just so comfortable there. But
beer mugs on his rash guard.
Yes, but yes, but when you have that type of approach and you're in there with just, Amaj is a young kid who's explosive. So while you're, rolling in that, you see people,
flow, if you will,
jiu-jitsu practitioners who just have that slow flow to them, but that young kid doesn't. So while you're slow flowing, to something else, he's like a kid getting ready to get his first piece, in for the quickie. I mean, you can't do that with some kids because they're fast. So while you're slow rolling in your transition, he is rocket shipping to his, and and getting into, like you said, a position where you can finish the fight because you jumped on it where your opponent thought you were going to slow roll with them into the next move. He snaps on it like a rattlesnake and is able to snatch something up.
I will look forward to the MMA debut of young Aman Jemai, which hopefully is coming up soon. And shout out to Andrew Havener. I believe he's got his pro debut finally booked after lots of attempts at a show in Indiana coming up in October. So good skills to you, Mr. Havener. I'm sure we'll see you back down in one of our cages hopefully very soon. And now, leading off the card, our final recap here of the evening, it was tag team action as it was the team of Josh Maynard and Corey Johnson representing Pedigo and Nashville MMA, looking for their first win as a team, and they got it here as they defeated Dalton Smith and the late replacement Connor Hodge 2-1 after we went 10 minutes. A fun one, man. And we were talking a little bit earlier, like the team of Maynard and Johnson is kind of one of the elder statesmen tag teams out there at this point. They're a little more experienced in this than most, and they know how to work it, man. They're some of the better strategy you're going to see here in this match. But 2-1, it goes to them on some very well timed, well placed tags and cage awareness.
Yeah. Draw the line in the sand, step across this line type of aspect. They did a really good job keeping things on their side of the cage. Like you said, this is the rock and roll express of tag team jiu-jitsu. They've been together so long. They know what the other's thinking now. At this point, they can do the killer bees under the cage, put the masks on, and trick you on to who's who.
And they're over. They had a pretty good crowd there.
They know what's going on now. I think they have found their calling, their bread and butter, and they're going to make a run at this. They have really pressed hard on us introducing a tag team belt. So they're all in on tag team jiu-jitsu and calling all comers. But like you said, they're really getting the concept down, learning strategies. You can tell in this one, they're just not coming in anymore to have fun. Like they worked on this and they trained for this. They simulated tag team bouts in the gym training for this. But man, these things are fun, and that's why we start the show with them a lot. But before long, this shit's going to stop being fun and start being competitive. I think you're going to have.
I think once we introduce the titles, I think we're going to have a tag team title tournament one night. We'll call it not the Crockett Cup, the Cricket Cup. We'll call it, and we'll see what happens because there's some pretty good teams. Like, you got to remember, even though this Booker and Maynard, this Maynard and Johnson team won here, they're coming off a loss to the Booker Guerrero team, which was pretty good tag team as well. So there's some pretty fun ones out there. Hey, and we
Yeah.
appreciate you guys sticking with us through this preview or recap, rather, reaction to Aries Ampd. It was an epic night. Stay tuned here to the YouTube channel and subscribe. You'll get notifications when we post the videos of this stuff. You can check it out. From here on, we're looking forward, folks. It is Aries 11. It's going down this Saturday night from Camp Jordan Arena in East Ridge, Tennessee, right outside of Chattanooga. It is Zane Burton in the main event defending against Wallace McCoy. We've got 4 female bouts on the card. Samantha Buttery's back. Jazzy Sargent's there. She's going to have a big old crowd there and look to put on a show. Grappling debut of Karma RX, Briven Sullivan. We've got some good ones for you guys, and we're going to be breaking it down this week on a preview show. So stay tuned. Jeff, any parting words before we get out of here?
No, we had a big show, a high level show, big production show. Shit. Now let's go to East Ridge and just have some fun. Let's let our hair down. Unbutton the collar a little bit. We got an all amateur show with some fun fights on it. So, guys, if you went to Amped and now you're about to go to Chattanooga, you're going to see 2 different shows. But it's by design, guys. We're ready to go to Chattanooga and loosen up and have a drink, if you will.
Appreciate you joining us this week, guys. For Jeff Hobbs, I'm Tim Lloyd signing out. We'll see y'all on the next edition of the 0 Hour. Peace.
See ya.